Okay, looking at A here. We've been using the common denominator, right, Taylor? What is the common denominator, Taylor? No. What numbers do you see as denominators? The whole problem. Okay, you see 1. What else do you see as a denominator? Yeah, X. What else? 3. Right. So what's 1 times 3 times X?
That would be 3x.
3X. That's the common denominator. Good. So you multiply everything by that common denominator. All right? Right there. Right here. Right there. And right there. Okay? What happens to the 3's here?
No.
Cancel. So what's X times X? X squared. What's 6 times 3X? 18X. What's 3X times 10? 30X. What happens to the X's? Cancel. What's 4 times 3? 12. So that's what it looks like now. Okay? Now let's factor what we can factor. Up top in the numerator, X is in both. It's a GCF. And then we have X minus 18. And in the bottom, was it just 3?
And X plus 4.
So once I have it factored, are there any factors that are common that I can cancel? No, so we're done. Now, what's the only thing X can't be? 0.
Okay.
Okay?
0. All right.
Looking at the original problem, because of this denominator of X, we can't have X be 0. Okay? That's how we do these complex fractions. Multiply both everything in the top and the bottom by the common denominator. But you have to look at all the denominators in the top and the bottom. Okay? So, if I factor this, I get that. But what is X squared minus 1? It's a perfect square. Difference of squares, right? So, I'll put it up above here. It's 3 and then X plus 1 and X minus 1. Okay? This X plus 1 I can't factor. That's all. It's as simple as we can make it. This can be factored into X minus 4 and X plus 1. All right? So, we have to multiply everything, top and bottom, this whole thing, by whatever we had that showed up. We have a 3x plus 1, x minus 1, and an x minus 4, right? So all 4 of those would make up the common denominator for everything that you see. Okay? So, looking at this, and looking at these, what's different? What did I multiply extra here? X minus 4. So, I have to multiply that 1 by x minus 4. What is 1 times x minus 4? X minus 4. So that's the top. After we did that, that's all that's left is that x minus 4 times 1, which is x minus 4. Okay? Now, for this 5, I got to multiply it by all 3 of these. Because the x plus 1s will go away, right? So, what's 3 times 5? 15. So, this is going to be 15 times x plus 1. I'm sorry, not x plus 1. That's the one that we don't have to worry about, right? the x minus 4, the x minus 1, right? The 15 came from the 5 times the 3, okay? So I still need an x minus 1 and an x plus 4. The 3 I went times the 5 to get the 15. All right, and then we got minus here. Now, we got the x minus 4 and the x plus 1, right? So what was different was the 3 and the x minus 1, right? So I need a 3 and x minus 1 times the x plus 4. You follow that? So I haven't finished yet because I got to do the red problem, I got to do the green problem, and then I can combine like terms. All right? So if I do the red problem, I think I'm going to go 15x minus 15. I want to distribute the 15 first, and then FOIL it. So 15x minus 15 when I distribute it there times x plus 4. So 15x times x is 15x squared. 15x times 4 is 60x. Negative 15 times x is negative 15x. And negative 15 times 4 is negative 60. Okay? I'm going to take this negative with me, with this 3, when I distribute that. So negative 3 times x would be negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 1 would be positive 3. And I'm going to FOIL that. So I get negative 3x squared, negative 12x, positive 3x, and a positive 12. All right? So I'm going to combine all those like terms. So my numerator is still x minus 4. My denominator is 15x squared minus 3x squared. That's 12x squared. So those are done. 60x minus 15x is 45x. Minus 12x would be 33x. Plus 3x would be 36x. So those are gone. And negative 60 plus 12 is a negative 48. Okay? So that's my fraction now that's left from the original. So we went from all of this stuff up top there, everything, and we got it into that blue one. Now, the bottom I should be able to factor. 12 is a GCF, right? So I'm going to pull that 12 out, and I have x squared plus 3x minus 4, which would be 12 times x plus 4 and x minus 1. What happens to the, oh, nothing happens. I thought those x minus 4s might cancel, but they didn't. So going back to the original denominators, I factored that. What factors of x get me a 0?
1 and negative 1.
1 and negative 1, good. Negative 1 there, and then 4 and negative 1, right? So plus or minus 1 and 4, right? Looking at the original problem. All right, so that was a lot of work for that one.
Yep. And I still got it wrong.
Okay, and that would be easy to make a mistake there if you didn't keep stuff together. All right, so looking at
I don't want to move on. I want to do more of that.
our answers to our worksheet, number 1 was negative 4 over x minus 1. X cannot equal 1. Number 2 is 5x over 3x minus 5. X cannot equal 5/3. Number 3, you get 6. The x plus 4s will cancel when you factor out the 6 after you add. X cannot equal negative 4. And number 4 ends up being 2x after you factor stuff. X cannot be 7. Number 8 is 37 over 10x. X cannot be 0. Number 9 is 6 times the quantity, 3x plus 19, over x minus 2 times x plus 8. X cannot be 2 or negative 8. Number 10, negative 10x minus 77 over x plus 8 times x minus 3. X cannot be negative 8 or positive 3. Number 11 is 3x squared minus 9x plus 10 over 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. X cannot be negative 1/2 or 3. Number 12 simplifies to x minus 2 over x plus 1. X cannot be 7 or negative 1. And 13 is x cubed minus 2x squared plus 2x plus 11 over x minus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 1. X cannot equal plus or minus 2 or negative 1. 14, we're going to multiply everything by 10x, and we get x times the quantity x minus 30 over 10 times the quantity 5x plus 1. X cannot be 0. And 15 ends up being 4 over x minus 1. X cannot be 11 or negative 4. So, questions on any of those?
I would want to do one on like this.
I don't think we'll give you one quite as difficult as 15. We'll do something more like 14. Okay. For the complex ones, we won't get them too difficult. Because we know there's going to be time constraints for us. All right, today we're going to solve rational equations. So we're going to do this same idea as what we just did with the complex fractions. To simplify the complex fractions, we multiplied everything by what? The common denominator, right? So that's what we're going to end up doing for these, okay? Some of these are just one fraction equal another fraction. And then we're just going to cross multiply. All right, each side of the equation is a single rational expression. Okay, one fraction equal to another fraction, we're going to cross multiply to solve them. It's going to be what we call a proportion, right? So, one like that. So just cross multiply. So you're going to go 3 times 4x plus 5, and cross products are equal. So equals 9 times x plus 1. All right, so we get 12x plus 15 when you distribute the 3, and 9x plus 9 when you distribute the 9. What's the next step? Subtract 9x. I'm going to do 2 steps here. And I'm going to subtract the 15. So this should be easy for you guys. So we get 3x on the left, the 15's cancel, the 9x's cancel, and we get negative 6 on the right. Divide by 3, we get x equals negative 2. Now, you should always check these. Is negative 2 okay up in both of these x's for the denominator? Will I get a 0 if I plug negative 2 in either x on either side? No. So that's a good answer. Sometimes when you do this, this x value you get, let's say it was negative 1, wouldn't be a good answer because it would make this first denominator 0, right? So always check these solutions to make sure you don't get 0 in the denominator of the original problem. Always check into the original problem. Okay, Landry? Right, so that's easy when it's a single fraction equal to a single fraction. So you guys go ahead and solve that one, please, for practice.
Yeah.
Won't be a fraction, it'll just be like that. You multiply 5 times quantity, that's supposed to be, and it equals.
His signs up. Oh, yeah, they have signs with that, a circle with that, there's a picture of you. I don't remember. Do not, if you see them, please report.
Take the 4x over.
Or practical. We should play some fun thing.
Oh,
That's great.
don't forget about it.
Your bathroom
Or you take it over here. Okay, go ahead, yeah, you can, if you can do both of those, yeah. Good. No,
Has anybody ever used a vacuum in
I
the
do
house?
the next one.
All right, you guys should be done with this. So cross multiply,
Alright, I ripped it in sheet, I got rid of it.
cross multiply. So -4 times x minus 3 equals 5 times x plus 3. And it doesn't matter which one you put on each side. Okay, that doesn't make a difference. All right, so if you had the 5x plus 3 on the left and the -4x times x minus 3 on the right, that's okay. Distribute the -4. Distribute the 5. Okay, I'm going to subtract 5x to get it to the left. I'm going to subtract 12 to get it to the right. I get -9x equals 3. Divide by -9, and that reduces to -1/3, right? Is -1/3 okay up in those two denominators? Yeah, those are okay. So that's a good answer. If you got a +3 or a -3, that would not be a good answer. So if your answer doesn't work, if it makes the denominator 0, Caleb, quit it. All right, if your denominator, the answer you get makes the denominator 0, then there's no solution, okay? If it doesn't, when you plug it in, you get that 0. All right, so those are easy, right? Just cross multiply, one
like that, they are.
equal to another.
Where's the change? Where's the
Okay,
line? What's the
so now we're gonna use least common denominator, because we're gonna have at least 2 terms on one side, or maybe 2 terms on both sides, okay? So always check your solutions, that's what it's saying there, okay? So what denominators do you see?
1, 4, x4.
Yeah, all you see is an x and a 4, right?
I meant x. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so if it shows up, you write it down, right? So our common denominator is 4x. So we're gonna multiply everything, this whole equation, by 4x, okay? So here's the 3 problems. You're gonna have 5 over x times 4x. It's like over 1, right? You're gonna have 7 over 4 times 4x over 1. You're gonna have -9 over x times 4x over 1. Each time. You guys with me on that? Okay. So what happens to these x's? Cancel. So what do I get? 20. What happens to these 4?
Cancel.
Cancel. So what do we get?
7x.
What happens to these x's?
Cancel.
What do we get?
-36.
Now,
Shouldn't you get academic booster?
it's an easy equation, right? Okay. So that's the reason we do that. We get rid of the fractions. Okay? And then you could all be academic booster club members, right?
I really did.
What?
I got snubbed.
Yeah, why would you get snubbed? Don't you have the right grade?
I thought I did.
Guess not.
Not smart.
Guess not. All right, so what's the next step, Sydney?
-20.
Good, subtract the 20.
I don't know.
That joke's so flat.
Negative. Oh, no.
Yeah, negative what?
I don't know.
Now what?
Why, but-
Divide by 7.
About 7. Divide.
So we get what? Negative what? 8. Good. Checking. Is it okay to make negative 8 up there in the denominator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good.
All right.
No homework?
Questions?
No, we have homework. I got one.
Yeah, it's that easy.
I bet.
Oops. Let's look at that
No.
one. We'll skip B and do C.
Looks like it's right there.
Can I factor anything?
No.
No. So I gotta write them down.
Alright.
Everything's gonna be multiplied by 2x times x plus 1. All right? So when I multiply this first fraction, what happens to the x plus 1s? It cancels. So what's 3x times 2x? 3x times 2x. 6x squared, right? When I multiply this second fraction, the negative 5 over 2x times this, what happens to the 2x's? They cancel, so it's negative 5 times x plus 1. What happens to the 2x's? They cancel, so it's 3 times x plus 1. So the reason we do that, multiplying everything by the common denominator, is to eliminate the fractions. I got to distribute my 5 and 3.
Whoa, I missed a lot.
Now, you see an x squared here. So it's a quadratic equation now. So we have to set it equal to 0 to solve it. So I want to subtract the 3x and the 3, so I get 0 on the right. So I got 6x squared minus 8x minus 8. I'm going to try to factor that to solve it, but we could use the quadratic formula if you want. You could graph it on your graphing calculator too. I'm going to take the 2 out, and we'll get 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. All right? What's 3 times negative 4? Negative 12. Are there factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 4? Those two, right? Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, right? Right, Wise? Okay. So I have to rewrite this 3x squared with a minus 6x and a plus 2x instead of that negative 4x. And then we group it, remember? What's common to the first group? 3x. Good. What's common to the second group? 2. So what's 3x squared divided by 3x? X. What's negative 6x divided by 3x? Negative 2. What's 2x divided by 2? What's negative 4 divided by 2? Okay. So, all right, so I got this 2 still there, and I factored this trinomial into what? What's that factor now? 3x plus 2 and x minus 2. Okay? So, how do I get my 2 answers here? What are the 2 answers? This one is 2, right? Negative 2/3, right? You're going to subtract the 2 and divide by 3, right? Set them equal to 0 if you're not sure. Now, we got to check those. Can we say 2 equals 0? No. If that was a 2x, could I say it equals 0?
Yeah.
Yeah. So since there's no variable with that, I don't need to worry about that, okay? That GCF. All right, going back to the original problem. Does 2 okay? 2 plus 1 and 2 times 2, do you get 0? No, so that's a good answer. Negative 2/3. Is negative 2/3 plus 1 or 2 times negative 2/3 going to give me a 0? No. So those are both good answers. All right?
Alright.
So, again, using stuff we've done earlier this year, solving a quadratic equation. So that'll show up once in a while on these. Okay? Let's see what B looked like. What's the common denominator? Just real quick. We won't finish it, but what are we going to multiply everything by?
Alright.
1x and what? X minus what? Yeah. You can't factor either one, right? So you're going to multiply everything by these two, and that'll get rid of your fractions, okay? So remember, if you got a regular fraction equal to a regular fraction, you just cross multiply, okay? When you have, 2 terms on one side or 2 terms on both sides, okay, however it's worked out, you got to multiply everything by the common denominator to eliminate your fractions. Ooh, there's one. What do we have to do here first?
What happened to the other one? You gotta factor all of it.
Factor everything, right?
You just don't do it.
Now, since there's 2 of these, we should write it how? Squared, right? And then what's this one? Right, x plus 3 and x minus 3, right? So what's my common denominator?
X minus 3.
I see an x plus 3, and I see an x minus 3. Are there any exponents? Yeah. So that 2 I have to put in here. So I multiply everything by that for that problem. Okay? They're all x plus 3s or x minus 3s, right? Yeah, that's, where was it here? That's a kind of bad one. All right, so just remember that. There's your homework. You got some time to get started.
Have you got it?